everyone, and welcome to Frontier Opening Bell. I am boosting number 5. It is the start of the final business and markets week in the month of March. And of course, we just say goodbye to the first quarter of the year by the weekend. So let's get the show started. My colleague in South Africa, Tiletho Zwane, is standing by for our commentary, the whole roundup of South Africa's business and markets week, and of course giving us what to look at for in the new week. Good morning, Tiletho. How you doing? You got your cup of coffee there? I don't want to feel left too long.
Yes. Good morning, Boyson. I'm very well this morning. Good. Thank you. I hope you had a lovely weekend.
Good. Thank you very much. So let's get down to business, by the way, because again, the markets all across Africa look all green on Friday, including the Egyptian stock market. Eked out a very positive, just 2 basis points to start its new week on Sunday. Of course, Sunday is the start of the business and markets week in Cairo, by the way. So that's well understood. But we're looking at something very green. The Kenyan stock market was quite very strongly positive Friday, 2.20% as we saw those banks' earnings come through, despite the disappointment, of course, from KCB Group, which says there will be no dividend for the first time in 20 years, and investors punished that particular stock through to the weekend. The GSE was better by 1.15%. Let me walk you through very quickly the East Africa's top headlines as we get on the new week and try to get a number of things in perspective. Ethiopia, that's where the news is. The IMF is working together with the Prime Minister Abiy's team in Addis Ababa for about $3.5 billion loan. That is urgently needed by Prime Minister Abiy's administration. The Paris Club of Creditors have given Ethiopia a deadline of March 31st to come to the table with something to offer. So the Ethiopian authorities need this money as fast as possible. The Uganda State Oil Corporation says it started selling fuel after its fallouts with the Kenyan authorities. This was an issue we thought would be resolved, but now it looks like Uganda and Kenya have gone their separate ways as far as oil supply to Uganda is concerned, coming from Mombasa port and the facilities in Kenya. Now, Uganda is leaning more towards Tanzania for that. Uganda's diaspora inflows was up about 13.4% for the 12th month ended January, while the end of 18% returns for investors is here as the Central Bank of Kenya is rejected about 37 billion of shillings of worth of bids last week. Some of the investors are asking for as much as 21%, and the central bank won't have that. Let me walk you through very quickly again the West African markets, with Nigeria launching the International Financial Reporting Standards Roadmap for Sustainability Reporting. That was part of the Global Money Week, which was done on Friday. The central bank governor and his new team will be meeting for the second time today and tomorrow to decide on interest rate decisions. I'm sure there's a whole lot of rate decisions in Southern Africa as well. Ghana has signed a visa waiver agreement with Malawi, while the cedi was trading around 13.7 and 12.78 to the dollar. The Bank of Ghana's Interbank on Friday. Niger Republic has reopened its borders with Nigeria's, that's the country to the northern part of the country. And finally, the Bank of Africa and Niger Republic will be paying 8.15 billion CFA franc as gross dividend to shareholders for full year 2023. Let me go to Southern Africa and just scratch the surface for you. Later we'll be digging deep into that. Zimbabwe currency is down to about 20,000 to the US dollar, while precious mountain on Malawi and Kwacha are down by 3%. The South Africa's Reserve Bank will likely hold repo at 8.25%. Let me get you in here to your Southern Africa week. Let's take a look back very quickly. Good morning once again.
Yes, thank you again, Barson. So just looking back into last week, on Tuesday, Zambian President Hichilema once again called on creditors to and the impasse over its 13 billion USD debt. As Zambia has been in a stalemate since November 2023, and Hichilema basically said the delay was an indictment on the credibility of the G20's framework. Also last week, Bank of Mauritius inflation expectation survey was released. The survey basically reveals that respondents see inflation above the target band in 2024, raising the likelihood for a policy rate hike. Upside risks to views that of an unchanged monetary policy stance. Also, Angola was in the news last week. The labor unions have declared a nationwide strike that started last week, Tuesday. And then in South Africa, we saw the consumer inflation numbers for February come out above expectations. Inflation was at 5.6 year-on-year in February. But I think, worse and even more dangerously was the increase of core inflation to 5% from 4.6. Previously, we know that the South African Reserve Bank wants to anchor inflation at the midpoint of 4.5% of its 3 to 6% target rate. So that is basically
very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. I hope the inflation thing is not affecting your cup of coffee, the price at which you get your coffee and what have you. I hope you're not paying more for your daily dose of that to let you. But these are very interesting headlines. But let's move on to the current week, by the way, and just walk us through, because it looks like we're at the end of the month of March, and there's a whole lot, a raft of data still on expected as we start from today. Walk me through some of this.
Yes, indeed. I mean, it's just a nice segue from the South Africa CPI data coming out last week. All eyes will be on Lesetja Kganyago this week. Usually, the governor makes his rate announcements on Thursday, but then this week, the announcement will be made on Wednesday. Economists expect the rates to remain unchanged at 8.25%. The Reserve Bank increased interest rates by a cumulative 475 basis points since the rate hiking cycle began in 2021. But more than whether the Reserve Bank is going to keep rates stable or cut, I think creditors will be more on the outlook, towards the messaging of which will direct them on when to expect the first rate cuts to happen. So there's different thinking around that. There are some analysts that expect rates to be cut at the next meeting in May, but consensus is that the bank will start cutting rates from July at increments of 25 basis points at each meeting until the end of the year. Okay. Also, what's happening this week is, Zimbabwe's annual inflation. The numbers are coming out today on Monday. Zimbabwe's inflation rate, soared for 4 months, reaching 47.6% in February. This was the highest inflation rate in over a year, from 34.8% a month before. The acceleration in overall inflation was largely due to continued depreciation of the Zimbabwean dollar against the greenback. The domestic currency has lost almost 2/3 of its value on the official market. So, this is a very great concern for Zimbabwe.
Very quite a whole lot for us to digest this week, and I'm sure as an economic journalist, I'm sure you always get very busy when you have this pouring, when data start pouring from across the region where you are in Southern Africa. But that's very interesting. Thank you very much, Tuletu. Let me just quickly sum up by just highlighting a few line items from the Northern African corridor with the Fitch, which are affirming Arab Tunisian Bank at a B-, and outlook is very stable. Egypt also announces an upward review of fuel prices, part of the nail-biting fiscal situation in President Al-Sisi's economy. EFG Holdings, which is listed on the Egyptian stock market, is reporting a turnover of $350 million for the full year 2023. In Tunisia, the insurance sector posted $1 billion turnover for the year. That was according to the Tunis stock market, while production in Libya, oil production is seen to exceed 1.5 million barrels per day for 2025. Will be about 2 million barrels per day for 2027. And just not to miss this, we got the news in through this morning that Moody's ratings have upgraded Tanzania's credit rating to B2 from B1. And that's some good news there from President, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan. That's some good news. And of course, the outlook is now stable from positive. So some good news that Tanzania could use, by the way. But of course, thank you very much, Tuletu. Thank you. Let's get together again on Monday next week and to start the week with you on a very hot coffee note, go walking us through Southern African markets.